Welcome to LDC Now, Episode 3, Revenge of the Tux. We are established by and for the Linux Distro Community and supporters of free open source software. Don't forget to interface with our magnificent mothership at www.linuxdistrocommunity.com. Chat with us on RC, join us on the forums, or shoot at us on game nights. It's about damn time for LDC Now, and Morningstar, take it away.
Hey guys, how you doing, Irish? Kleptos?
Hey, I must say, shooting a person that you talk to is very gratifying.
It's gotta be fun. I mean, just to get out your frustrations on the community in general.
Oh yeah, it's the only time you get to, shoot our queen, PDQ. So how have you guys been?
Been alright, been a busy week. It's been about 2 weeks since we've been able to shoot, so glad to be here tonight.
I've been bad and I'll continue to be bad. So what's on the agenda for today, there, Morningstar?
Well, today in our Newbie segment, we're going to talk a little bit about some different types of user environments, desktops and window managers. Hey guys, and welcome to today's Newbie Corner. So today we're going to talk about desktop environments and window managers. So here's the thing. You just installed Ubuntu this week, and you were fully enjoying Unity when you flipped on YouTube and saw an environment you'd never seen before. It turned out, through some looking around, you realize there are many different environments. Some look beautiful, some seem a bit DOS-like, but the question hits, how many different types of user interfaces are there? Well, today we're going to touch on some of the more common ones and give a taste of some of the not so common ones. First off, let's talk about KDE. It's a big name, and you might have already heard of it before. It may be a resource-hungry environment, but Plasma Desktop also allows for many widgets, and there's actually a fair amount of eye candy in KDE. GNOME, which is another desktop environment, strives in its current version to be an elegant experience. I do believe it has achieved this, though like KDE, it's a bit bloated, lots of packages, and depending on your internet speed, it may take a while to install. It has come a long way since its 3.0 state, and the GNOME extensions make it a lot nicer. You gotta love drop-down terminal and dash to dock. Those things are really cool. When you update GNOME, though, you may want to be prepared to reinstall your extensions. So let's talk a little bit about Unity. Unity is one that many of us are familiar with. It comes stock with Ubuntu. The HUD, or heads-up display, makes launching applications easy and breezy. Overall, like GNOME, it's come a long way since its first version. I remember some of the early days at Unity, and it's definitely, I'm happy to say, it's not what it used to be. I've used it from time to time, and it does provide, nowadays, a pretty good user experience for many folks. And because it comes stock with Ubuntu, it's what a lot of people's first impression of Linux really comes to be. Now let's talk about some dynamic and tiling and floating window managers, and that all may seem confusing to you right now, but we'll get to all that later. Let's talk about Awesome. Awesome, like many tiling or dynamic window managers, is not newbie friendly. It takes a bit of configuring within its config file, and knowing some Lua helps a lot. Luckily, like many window managers, you can search online for many configuration ideas and not have to start from scratch every time you install. There's a lot of options in Awesome Window Manager, and everyone's could look extremely different. This is really an intermediate to advanced window manager. We'll talk a little bit about OpenBox, which is another lightweight window manager, though it does not have tiling features. It provides a great stepping point from a desktop environment like GNOME or Mate to window managers. If I recall correctly, I think I used OpenBox after stepping away from KDE in my earlier days of Linux, but I'm not 100% sure anymore. There are some applications that make configuring OpenBox a lot easier to do, such as OBMenu and OBConf or OBCONF. This is definitely a good place to jump off if you want to get away from heavier desktops. So what is the difference between all these? While some desktop environments offer a software suite and a bit of eye candy or a basic experience for some folks, the overhead they cause is a no-go for many people. Window managers can be lightweight, significantly reducing the overhead. This, to some people, is a very important thing. If I have all the applications I want, then I do not need the extra media player and flashy panel. I may not even want a system tray. So for those people, lightweight window managers are great. Many are very customizable. There's a couple of types of window managers. There's tiling, which reduces extra spaces and makes the most out of your screen without you having to adjust windows yourself. Floating window managers allow you to move windows around so you can decide where they're aligned and what size they are and all that. But they do have benefits. Both have great benefits, and it's a matter of choice. Don't hesitate to look up more information on these types and try to decide which is right for you. Many window managers require a bit of configuration in text files. They can be pretty plain text, or like some, which is i3 is pretty plain text. Cat Window Manager, I think, uses C++. Xmonad uses Haskell. And as we talked about with Awesome, it uses Lua. So it could be just as diverse as the amount of window managers out there. Now, I know that we've touched on a lot of little things and haven't provided a lot of detail on a lot of things, but that was the point of this, was just to broaden your view and see what's out there. I'm going to leave it up to you guys to decide what you want to look into, what you want to take away from this newbie segment, and what kind of environment you want to have next time we meet. One of the things I did notice too, after I was doing this, is that there's really so many user environments out there. I didn't cover Mate, I didn't cover XFCE. I just hit a couple of the big ones. I only hit a few of the window managers, but I did want to let it be known for people that there was like a lot of different environments, and that it really is up to the user to check around, look what's there, try things out, and see what works for them. And I didn't know what your guys' opinion on some of the different environments out there, what you've seen and what you liked.
I have pretty much tried just about all the environments out there, except minus the window managers, but I've tried Mate, I've tried Cinnamon, KDE, all of those. GNOME, I'm on GNOME a little bit now, but I find they have their own advantages and disadvantages, and it's really good to experiment to find out what you like, what you like and don't like about a certain thing.
I think, honestly, this is the beauty of Linux, is that you have choice. You have freedom, baby. I like to say that. But, when it comes down to it, there's so much to offer as far as Linux window environments and DEs that, I'm be honest, I haven't tried them all. I haven't tried a lot of different things. I've tried really the main. I've tried GNOME. I've tried KDE. I've tried XFCE. I've tried LXQT. I've tried Mate. But, I mean, there's like sections and things that involve the Windows managers and DEs, where are they tiling, are they GNOME 2 style, are they this, are they that, and it comes down to preference, your preference, my preference, and we sort of find that niche that we like, and we stay there, or we just hop around. There's a lot of people on the IRC channel that hop every day to something new just to try it out, man, and you find your niche and you just roll with it.
Yeah, I definitely have experienced in my time, like the switch between going tiling, going back to a desktop environment like GNOME, or just seeing a new environment that I haven't seen in a while and it got a big update and I want to check it out. But I definitely feel like it is about finding your niche, and it is great when there's so many options out there between Enlightenment for those lightweight things. There's OpenBox. There's a user environment for any situation.
Yeah, plus, you can write your own window manager in any language that you can think of. I know there's like ICE, there's Fluxbox, there's a whole bunch. There's so many, and there's probably stuff already being developed about a new window manager that will hit the market sometime soon, or you may not even know that it's out there.
No, it's completely way too much for me to try each one, every last one. I have my own sort of style, my own sort of preference, but honestly, I don't even know how many there are out there. It's amazing, and so we just have to discover, and that's really what it's all about.
So, what was going to be our app pick for the night, guys? I think we had talked about doing Mumble today.
Yes, we were. This is how our shows are broadcast. through Mumble, so we can give you guys a little demonstration of what we can do on Mumble. I started using Mumble for about a year now, and it's one of the best voice clients out there. I know that there's others out there like Talks. You can talk with your friends through that and video chat through there. But I still prefer Mumble. It's still open sourced. I think it's just one of the better ones.
Also, it's low latency, and using currently the Celt codec, and it really comes down to whether or not you're on some sort of bad bandwidth. Maybe like you got 1 meg down, 1 meg up. It's low latency and really sort of limits the packets. So it doesn't really matter how much bandwidth you really have. It can sort of squeeze out as much as possible, and that's what's really cool about Mumble. Also, it does conferencing, so it's not just you and your friends. You can be a whole group of people, and I believe we do use it for game night, and so we can also conversate between each other.
If you create your own server, you can kick people, you can ban people, you can just go like into the nitty-gritty of things, how you want to run your server.
One of the things I really love about Mumble too, and like we mentioned, we do the audio recording through Mumble, is that you can actually, there's not a lot of voice chat programs where I can record just the audio and then it's crystal clear. It doesn't start recording until somebody starts talking. It keeps the files at a pretty good size. It's actually been really helpful for me to be able to record with that. I think that's a great feature.
Also, to be able to use the audio tools that are available via also Pulse Audio, and really choose what you want to use. Depending on if you have like 2 or 3 sound cards, very much configurable. How many packets per sort of audio. It's very detailed, and like you say, with the whole server and client combo, it's top notch. I've used a lot of different things in broadcasting. I've used Skype, which was just horrible, and it gets bad when you don't have as much bandwidth as you need. And so Mumble really works with what you've got and has the tools available to really tweak it and get as much as you can out of it. I think that's really beneficial.
Exactly. Plus, it is to note that it is cross-platform because you can use it on your Linux, your Mac, and your on your Windows machine. So if you have friends who refuse to switch over to Linux and you still want to talk to them, if they're like cross-country or like on a missionary or wherever, and you want to talk to them, instead of using Skype or FaceTime or whatever, you can go on to Mumble and you can talk with them like they're in the very next room.
Yeah.
And this is your client, this is your server. So it's not like, it's some software that's provided by some corporation that's kind of shady and, not sort of peer-to-peer environment. You set up your server and then the client's connected to that client. And so it's you that's doing everything, and it's not some sort of nebulous connections, if you will.
Another thing I really like about Mumble too is from the user standpoint, you can set your own comment. We were just talking about setting up avatars for ourselves, which are the little images in the corner when you hover over yourself. There's private messaging on there. You can message to a room. We can set it up so that users can be in one room, hear us do this broadcast, and then be able to interact in the IRC and they can still hear us from another room. So there's a lot of configuration you can do with Mumble, which I really like.
Also, it's good that for people to come on Mumble and get help, regarding their Linux environments and such. And so, we use it for various applications.
Yeah, plus you can also use it while you're gaming. So you instead of using some sketchy type of voice input with it, you can use Mumble and talk trash with your friends as you're gunning them down. It is very highly recommended. That should be one of your first steps that you install for sure.
Yeah, I can definitely see Mumble being a useful tool for both meetings or gaming or just community projects like these. I think Mumble's a great application. I'm glad we reviewed it.
So now, what's next on the agenda?
We had talked about been looking around for news. I definitely went around looking, and there wasn't a lot of stuff that struck me out first. But one thing that did get brought to my attention today was about wget and a there was a symlink issue. Like you could exploit a symlink in wget, and I don't know if being recording the chat room, I don't have it in front of me, but there was a link I had posted earlier. I don't know if either of you guys have that.
No, I don't have it. I didn't see it. In general, what's that all about?
Well, I can talk about it a little bit while one of you guys pull it up online. But there was basically an exploit that you could use to symlink to basically, I think you could like rewrite a whole file system recursively backwards. And one of the cool things about it, and this is one of the things we mentioned earlier about open source before as well, is that since the community has access to the code, when somebody finds an issue, and in this case especially, before even the penetration issue distros got to exploiting it and looking into it, it was already fixed, which I thought was really, really awesome. And that's one of the huge benefits of open source software to me.
No, definitely, because there's so many eyes on the software. You know, so many people looking at it, so many people looking at the source, so many different people compiling it. So obviously, you know, those bugs and those exploits are going to be handled very quickly. It'd be different if it was relying upon some company to do that, and how quickly they would really go about that. And is it in their interest to do it quickly, or is it not? And all those questions would sort of remain there. But when it comes to open source, I could fix that problem, or you know, we could patch those issues very quickly and cleanly. And so, hey, that's another benefit of open source software.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad that's the cool thing about open source is you have so many eyes, so many people who actually can understand what's written in the code, and send out a patch. I'm also glad that this bug didn't get like a cutesy name like Heartbleed and all those other ones.
Well, they were actually laughing about some joke names, and one of the ones that really struck me as funny was WTF get.
Yeah, that's cute.
Oh, that's nice. Maybe that'll get some nice hits. It seems to me that a lot of hyperbole is involved when it comes to Linux these days. They have to call it something fancy to get a bunch of clicks and eyeballs on the Linux articles. It's pretty sad these days.
It is really cool, though, that this problem was noticed, addressed, and patched before it actually got to a point where it even did inherit a name. I think that's huge. That's awesome.
I get a bit of news for you. Interesting. You know, we've been talking about different countries that are adopting Linux and sort of getting away from Windows, besides it being cost effective and secure. Another country in general, this one's from MaximumPC.com, China plans to replace all Windows machines with Linux rigs by 2020. It's a de-Windows-fying movement. Most of the mainstream angst towards Windows 8 and 8.1 in the US has to do with the modern UI and little things like a lack of a start menu. But while hopes are high that Windows 10 will be the OS everyone wants it to be, yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope not so. China reportedly plans to undergo a de-Windows-fying process in which its systems will move to a state-endorsed Linux by 2020. Now, I think the whole gist of this, in general, is to sort of clean up the exploitation of different OSs, secure it, and so it's their own, and so you don't know it's got a built-in backdoor. I mean, there's been a lot of talk of Windows having backdoors since the beginning, and I've heard some things on the sort of say back burner talk about that, and so they want to do a little bit of CYA covering their behinds and making sure that everything is secure. What do you guys think about it?
Go ahead, Morning.
Okay. I think that if a country like China, for their own purposes, wants to de-Windowsify and move to an open source platform, or even if they keep it in proprietary but developed by themselves using the Linux kernel, man, that says a lot to how far Linux has come. I think it's great that that even a whole government is moving in the direction of, no, we don't want to do this proprietary nightmare anymore, where we have no clue what's happening and who has control. I think that's a big step, and it's cool to see it get there.
Yeah, you guys said everything very well on that one. I don't think I can put any more into it.
Well, there's also the question of, if you remember in the past, there was a big virus with Iran and their nuclear facilities. I forget some of the names of them, but they're all based on simple USB exploitation in Windows. And so I think the Chinese government is concerned that they don't want to have to deal with the whole sort of cyber attack programs so easily getting access to some attack vector in Windows when they can secure everything from Linux and develop it themselves, and it's their baby.
Yeah, I think when you get into exploits and the things that, like we've talked about tonight, even when it's open source, you can use everybody else's knowledge and fix problems. You can address problems, but I think that there are some controversial things going on, and I think it is important for other countries besides. I think it's great that China's pioneering this new idea, and I hope that other countries follow.
Also, there's the whole thing about Ubuntu being very, very popular in China. I mean, they have hardware, like Dell had an Ubuntu experiment in China where they sold hardware that had Ubuntu on it, and so I think it's very popular in China, and I think it's a good idea, and how they'll use it, it'll be interesting to see, and we'll watch it on from the future and see how it goes and see what other countries adopt it.
In other news, it looks like we got ourselves a new game server. Morning, you want to talk about it?
Oh, well, later on toward the end of this news segment, I'm gonna do a first look at Double Action. I believe it's Boogaloo. It was someone that was brought to my attention earlier, and a couple of guys in IRC have played it already today. And later on, I'm gonna take a look at it and see what I find of it.
And anything with Boogaloo in the title has got to be like a top-notch game.
Yeah, I guess it's a multiplayer action game, and like PDQ is saying in the chat room, it's free to play too, which is kind of cool. I guess it's like an action. I don't know much about it. I've watched the first video, and it seems to be like a multiplayer action, stop action kind of game. So we'll see. I guess that kind of wraps up the news, unless anybody else had anything new to bring to the table.
Well, actually, I was going to talk about this probably the end of the show, but I've been using OpenSUSE now for a couple of weeks, and I'm going to use it for a month, maybe permanently. It's pretty damn awesome, and do a full analysis of the operating system in the near future. But for right now, I'll say, in the past when I've used OpenSUSE, which I really love, it's like really my second favorite OS distro, Linux distro besides Arch. And in the past, I've find it hard to find some sort of software that I had to go, digging for RPMs. But so far, the only time I had to dig for RPMs was for certain themes, and those certain themes aren't that popular. So everything else I found pretty well, whether it's coming from software.opensource.org or whether it's coming from the OpenSUSE build service, which is also awesome. I've had zero problems. Everything has been great running ButterFS with this, and I mean, it's been really great. And some of the problems that I've had in the past really had to do with my lack of knowledge about OpenSUSE and its repositories and its priorities, and I'm really enjoying it. I'm really liking it. It may be something that I use permanently. Anybody else have used OpenSUSE in the past?
I used it a little bit around 13.1, I think, or 13.2, and I found it had a lot to offer. I remember looking at the build service. How have you found how many packages are in the repositories? Is there a good set amount of software from your experience, Kleptos? Or
And you know what? I was very surprised. Now here's how bad I went about it. Okay, every package that I installed, I went to go look at the packages on Arch Linux or the AUR to see if I was behind a version or whatever, a version, a version. That's awesome. A version, but I was amazed that on most packages I installed, they were up to date with Arch and the AURs. I think only one package I had was like half a version behind, and everything that I use on my daily, and some of the stuff I use is fairly obscure, whether it's auto key, whether it's copy queue, or some VPN stuff. It was very easy to find, and it was very up to date. I haven't even gone the factory or the tumbleweed route, which I probably will do in the future after I give it a hard, good test. But I was very surprised. All the apps I really wanted were available. They were up to date, and I've had zero problems with it. The problems that I had were lack of knowledge, ultimately. Irish, you got any thoughts about OpenSUSE?
Yeah, I actually just tried the Evergreen release, the 13.1, and I really liked it. Unfortunately, I borked my system trying to go up to the factory and trying to go back, so I just destroyed my system because of lack of knowledge of how to actually do it. But if for whatever reason I decide to get off Arch, yeah, definitely will head over to OpenSUSE because they are one of the better operating systems out there, and that's saying something.
yeah, I definitely noticed a lot with my experience with OpenSUSE was how much is you can do with YAST too. And Kleptos, if you want to talk a little bit about YAST and the GUI for that.
Absolutely. Here's the thing, for distros, straight out of the box, really no distro has the kind of management, deep administrative management that comes with OpenSUSE and YAST. I mean, whether or not you want to, let's say your Butterfest partition, you delete a file, and you want to go back and get that file back from another snapshot, you can go look at the differences, the diffs between the two snapshots with the YAST Butterfest tools, or whether it's network stuff, or maybe it's grub stuff. I mean, there's probably about 15-20 tools alone in the YAST system, whether it comes down to, let's say, one of them that I use for the desktop. I could choose what environment I want to boot into first, that I want to log into that environment using a username. I mean, it is almost overkill, but also it's also very light.
Yeah, when I was on OpenSUSE, I found that the YAST was very simple to configure everything, to get all your repos, the Pacman repo, all the repos that you needed up and running, and it was very well designed for sure.
Guys, before we wrap it up, speaking of security and speaking of OpenSUSE, got a good security segment here talking about App Armor and FireJail. Let's just jump into that real quick. Before I really get into it, you guys familiar with that?
No, I was just saying. I remember when we were talking about it a little bit before the show. It was actually developed by Novell, and it's on the SUSE site. But I was interested to hear what you had to say, Irish.
Oh, I was just gonna say that the only thing on security that I was aware of when I first started was the Komodo antivirus, ClamAV, and then IP tables. So I can't wait to hear about these other two securities.
Yeah, we're going to discuss App Armor and FireJail, but first App Armor, and I'm just going to give you the gist, really, the way I view things and how it really works. Here's what's great about App Armor. App Armor ensures that the apps only do what they're supposed to do. Let's say that you went to some sort of shoddy website, and in our amazing alternative universe, you had some malware that got on your system. Well, if you're running, let's say, Firefox, you went to that site, well, Firefox is locked down by whether it's path entries, POSIX capabilities, or network entity entries, and so it's not going to do anything it's not supposed to do. It's locked down by App Armor. AppArmor also restricts OS resources that aren't necessary for software to function normally. That are necessary for function for me. That aren't necessary for the software to function normally. Let's say you've got an application that's written a certain way, and it's doing way more than it really needs to do. AppArmor, through its learning process, finds out what exactly is necessary, what is not necessary, and locks that down. Any comments before I go forward?
I think it's really great too to have that. It's that the AppArmor can lock down system applications, and more than just Firefox, and more than just the top of the iceberg. It can really control all the way down.
Yeah, let's say, take for example, you go to Mozilla and you want to download Firefox. Let's see, somebody's already hacked their network, their system, and has put a bunch of binaries up there that are based on malware. And you run it. It's run through a Firefox security profile. It already has a list of things that it's allowed to access. Okay, whether it be on the network, or whether it be files and folders, or whether it's sort of POSIX stuff and includes everything else. And so, whatever it tries to do, it's not going to get done because it already has a security profile added to it. So it doesn't even matter. Even if you're running, let's say, an application that uses root, AppArmor is going to lock it down anyway, regardless of root capabilities. It's going to limit what root can do through those applications. Also, let's say network security. Let's say if every open port of your network is run by AppArmor processes, that means that you're reducing the attack surface on your network. That is a great idea. Now, the whole gist of AppArmor is that AppArmor uses the Linux security module in the kernel, which performs access control. So the whole idea is kind of like system auditing, and so every attempt that is done on these applications is logged through the kernel. And so you can see what's available that you can access. You can see that something that is not supposed to be doing that it's not supposed to be doing. And so you really have the whole power of the Linux kernel through these applications. That's how AppArmor uses it. Like I said before, there's 3 types that our AppArmor can use as far as rules that are just simple regex rules, path entries, what files and folders can be used, the POSIX capabilities, and the network entries. And so it's these little itty-bitty profiles that you write out yourself, but they do have profiles already written for Firefox and different applications. And so what you're doing is you're sort of lessening the attack vectors on your system if you have all of these profiles enabled. And with OpenSUSE in general, a lot of this is already enabled out of the box, and so it's a lot of work that you don't have to do. And it's really great. Comments?
I was going to say, I actually was going to ask in the end whether or not it came stock with OpenSUSE, and it sounds like it does.
Yes, it does, and there's a nice YAST module for AppArmor.
That's really cool. Yeah, I actually think that from what I've learned about AppArmor, that the learning mode is one of the coolest things about it.
Yeah, the learning mode really sees what your applications are accessing, and you decide what it can access. Now, there are pre-built security profiles for a lot of applications, but if you just want to see what's going on behind the scenes, then learning mode is definitely for you. Now, this is what's cool about it. AppArmor installs a module into the Linux kernel, like I said before, that monitors your resources and uses the programs through according to their profiles. Now, the profiles can be interpreted by the learning mode or enforce mode. Now, everything gets logged. So whether or not it's accessed or it's not accessible, everything is logged, and so you get a general idea of what those applications are trying to do, which is really a great idea because for those people that are new to Linux, you can see the guts, if you will, of Linux and see what's going on behind the scenes, as far as what is really internal to your network, internal to your applications, and what it's accessing. Jeez. But the benefit of all this is locking down everything and making sure that your application is doing what it's supposed to do and not going any further than that.
That sounds very awesome. That can help a new person too, for sure. If they don't know what they're doing, they install that, and that would help a lot.
Now, AppArmor, as far as the profiles and creating the profiles yourself, if you're a Linux newbie, it's going to be a little difficult, but you can download security profiles from their site. But now a different application, which is also awesome on its own, is called FireJail, and this is something that I've seen just recently here. Now here's what's great about this. The core technology behind FireJail is Linux namespaces, virtualization technology available to the Linux kernel. It allows the process and all of its descendants to have their own private view of the globally shared kernel resources, such as the network stat, process table, mount table, etc. And so, really, you run a simple command, FireJail space Firefox, and much of the work is done for you. And so you have a SUID sandbox already set up. All the sort of network infrastructure is already created for you. I mean, you've got process separation. You can look to see what's being done, what it's accessing. Also, let's see here. File system support, whether it's a local file system. Let's see. Let's say you're running FireJail with Firefox. Now, is it necessary for Firefox to be able to see your root menu, to see your grub menu, to see certain things? What it's doing is locking down everything. It knows what Firefox is necessary to run, but much like AppArmor, it blocks things that are not necessary. And so, really, in a simple way, FireJail sort of has the features of an AppArmor, but very simple to use. But also, you can tweak it as well if you're an advanced user.
Yeah, one of the things I thought was really cool too is when we had talked about FireJail, I had tried it on a lot of things and experimented with a lot of different applications, and I found a lot of different ways, things I couldn't do, things that wouldn't run, and it's really neat how much it can be useful if you're trying to restrict certain things from happening.
Yeah, you ran it on a bunch of stuff, didn't you?
Everything.
I didn't go that far, but it's cool to see that you do have AppArmor out there, which is very sophisticated, very powerful. But you do have a program like FireJail that does it straight out of the box. And also, if you're advanced, then you can really tweak it. It also has setcomp support. It has network support. It creates like a DMZ. And so that if you're using Firefox doesn't sort of go out on an edge and does things that it's not supposed to do. And so software like this is great because not only for experimentation, but you get to see what's going on behind the scenes and Linux guts. I hate to say the word guts, but guts in general. And also it secures things for you. And so it's kind of like you have the advanced stage of things, you have the beginner stage of things, and so this software is being developed just on the need that needs to be done, and things that need to be done. And so a lot of things will be created that come out of nowhere. There's not some corporation creating it, but it's just some user that thinks it needs to be done, and we adopt it, and we tell them how we like it or whatever have you, and it gets further developed. That's the beauty of Linux.
Yeah, I think those are really, really great applications, both of them, and having done what I could to check them both out. Just the amount of the extra control that gives you over your system and what's happening. You might have external problems coming at you that you can block with like firewalls and stuff, but being able to control what's on the inside of your machine, that's a really important thing.
Yeah, FireJail is essentially a cheat root on steroids, and that's definitely necessary.
Well, thanks, Kleptos, for bringing those up. Unless there is anything else we wanted to do, I think it might be time to try some video games.
Hey, why not, man? I have yet to play any Linux games on my system. I just have wanted to avoid Catalyst in general with my AMD hardware. But I'm gonna get to it eventually, man. But what games are you talking about?
Well, tonight we were gonna play Double Action, and I'm gonna switch out of the chat room and go over to Steam. and I guess we're going to do a first look at Double Action Boogaloo. And I'm going to record this as I go, but I have no clue what I'm in for right now. I don't know how it'll run on my hardware. I have an old Intel integrated graphics chip, so we're going to see how this all goes.
Good old-fashioned experimentation, huh?
Hey, you know what? What's a first look if you've already seen it, right?
Exactly.
So I don't know if there's anybody from the chat room who wants to come play, or if I'm going to just... We have an LDC server, which I'm going to try to find.
Yeah, I'm in the process of downloading the game now, so I can come and test it out with you.
Also, I'd like to say that as far as all the LDC users out there, if there's an application or some service or some software that you want us to test out and run it hard and break it, let us know. And I think this is great because we're being exposed to different software and new things about Linux, and none of us knows it all. And it is really primarily about learning first on this show. And do it, man. Just let us know what you're interested in, and we'll go forward with that. I think it's good to go out there and break some distros and break some applications to see how things work and bring it to you in a good packaged way.
Heck yeah, I definitely feel like there's a lot that we will never be able to cover on here, but it's always nice to hear and see new things. I'm really glad you brought up these security segments tonight, because Fire Jail is something that I'm using regularly right now.
I've been running it in Firefox and a couple of applications, and it's great about Firefox and FireJail is that the only problem I've ever had with Firefox and FireJail is Flash. Flash, the bane of my existence right now. That's the only problem I've ever had with FireJail and Firefox, and I do want to run on more applications to see what breaks or if it works just fine, and maybe tweak a little bit, maybe do a little reporting later on.
Well, all I know is I'm a gangster with a shotgun.
This show is called Revenge of the Tux.
That's right. Hey, I got like a Vice City Vin Diesel suit on.
So what kind of game is this? What is this? Platforming, shooting? What's the gist?
So far, it seems to be a 3D, third-person kind of a shooter, it looks like. I'm not sure what to expect of it,
Who are you killing?
Nobody yet. I'm running around looking and jumping and trying to see where I'm at. There's a few people on the server. I'm on the actual LDC server, which is cool, but I'm not seeing anybody.
Because they're about to ambush you, I think.
Take that.
I think that besides talking about application security and news and all that, it's good to have a little bit of fun also. Next time I have to jump in on it and just play a game on Linux in general. I mean, the games on Linux have been increasing fast and furiously, and I haven't just gotten around to doing it yet, but I should find something good to mess with and jump on with some LDC users.
Yeah, I definitely feel like there's a lot of games to be played. There seems to be a lot of checkpoints and stuff. This is, again, a first view, so I have no clue what I'm doing.
Hey, Irish, man, what games on Linux are you playing these days?
I play mostly with PDQ and maybe Morningstar every now and then. It's called No More Room in Hell. It's a zombie survival game, and it's a co-op game. So it's just you. You can go up to 8 guys, and then you have an objective where you have to go from A to B, but you have to do like certain tasks, like open a gate, get a key, open this switch, that kind of stuff. Or you can just have waves upon waves of zombies coming at you and just trying to survive until the very end. That those are really hard. I've done those with a few with Morningstar and PDQ, and I've only maybe beaten twice. You always get monched on by those little kid zombies, so. But it's very fun.
I'm gonna have to grab Left 4 Dead on Steam one of these days. That's a game I play fairly often, just not on my machine itself, on a console, and that's an awesome game to play with a bunch of people and running for your life.
Yeah, the game is very, very close to Left 4 Dead, and it is one of the funnest games I've played. I also play, Counter-Strike, the first, the Source, and then Fez, and there's one of my first games I played was called Stealth Bastards. It's a fun little game. It's got like a guy that looks like a minion from Despicable movies, and you just have to avoid laser beams, and it's a puzzle game for sure. And that one is fun.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. What's up?
Oh, I was gonna ask Morningstar, what's he killing now? Maybe he's
been owning me for a little while.
I guess he's intensely killing people. He's forgetting about us.
Or dying, one of the two.
If he was dying, I think if he was dying, he'd be swearing a lot more.
Is that the kind of person he is, really?
Who's that?
We're talking about you, man.
Oh no, I was just leaving the game. For a first look, like I said, we'll probably take a look at other games like that in the future. But it seems to be that you can control like stop motion, slow motion. I didn't really get a view on that until the end. But there's definitely a lot to it. But it seems to be like a third-person shooter. The video's in there, and yeah, I feel like it's an interesting game. I'll have to definitely play it later when I have more time and I have the ability to look into it.
I think in general, Linux gaming is probably in the next couple of years going to explode. Just to have an open platform for developers to make games on Linux, I think is something that nobody else really has to offer. Everything as far as Windows and DirectX and all the lockdown and all the changes in DirectX every year. I think Linux, although OpenGL is not perfect, I think in the near future, I think Linux is going to be the premier gaming system because it's just open and developers can do whatever the hell they want on it, make the game they want, without having to give Microsoft money.
Yeah, and I think SteamOS too is going to make a lot of changes. We're going to see a lot more open source based or Linux based gaming platforms and consoles. I hope in the future.
Well, the PS4 is already based on it's using BSD anyway, so
learn something new every day. That's awesome.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. That's really cool. All right, before we go, if anything else you guys want to talk about?
I think we've covered a lot. We've covered a lot of different things tonight. Unless there's anything you had in need there, Kleptos. I think that's going to be a full show.
Definitely, and don't forget to go to the LinuxDistroCommunity.com, of course the IRC, the forums, and also I definitely think that's definitely cool is where you can go to the main website and upload all your screenshots and stuff, and there's a lot of community members and newbies, advanced people. Everyone's sort of flocking that direction. I floated in a few months ago, and I'm hanging in tight. And there's some great people there. And if you got problems, we help you. And if you want to play some games, we shoot you. Baby, it's all fun.
You got to get in there and shoot me sometime, Klepos. I think that I don't know how I got so lucky to get a couple of kills, but I felt like a sitting duck in there tonight.
We'll do it, man.
All right, thanks, guys, and we'll see you guys next time.